Without too much preamble, let's introduce our guests because we all go back a long way, and they are our fellow Two Pints alumni.
A lot of people have been asking for ages.
Colleagues.
Can you get
people from Two Pints?
Two Pints on? We have got two of the legends. One is the creator, the reason why Two Pints existed,
and the other one behind it.
And the other one was the amazing character Louise, which is Kathryn Drysdale and Susan Nickson.
Ta-da!
Come on in, sit down. Welcome.
Hey guys.
Welcome.
First of all, Kathryn, when you walked in, you said, "Oh wow, everyone's in such good shape," which means that catapults you to our best guest so far, because that's how vain and narcissistic we are.
Yeah, you've all had a glow up. You're all in shape, which is weird because we're in a pandemic. And
I've not had a fucking bit of work.
Do you know what? I looked at our publicity photos this morning, and you know, I'm aging naturally. I'm like nearly 42 now, and you can see me laughing, and you can just see a few laughter lines. You haven't got a single one. You've been Botoxed.
I swear on my life,
100%. Does he look like he's had Botox, girls?
Not a thing.
He just looks he's
I'm grey as fuck. I'm aging gracefully.
His head moves here, but down here,
I'll tell you one thing I have got. I'm thinning on the back there, and I use a bit of black spray, right?
He spray paints the top of his head.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I have black spray as well. I have it sometimes, where I get
women do it.
Do you know what it's called Maine. And the reason I'm saying is because you can send me loads of free shit. Maine. And what it is do you know what it is? Especially with under lighting, you get a bit of a. And I saw that I can't remember it was a program I did a while back, and they shot me from behind, and I thought, fucking hell. My hair's got a bit thin. Yeah. Never again. I went and got this stuff. That's it.
But they use it on sets all the time with actors.
Yeah.
Like to make my parting less.
Yes, partings are a real problem. My crown, so if they're shooting from above and it's really bright.
So you have a nanogen put on as well.
Mate, I was going to say, so my crown and my parting's like glows white because I'm so pale. So pale. And they go, and a lot of the time makeup designers and departments, they sort of just do it without actually saying it, because they're sort of trying to be a little bit respectful. Yeah. And I always go, "Hey, what are you doing?"
They just get the powder and spray out.
Yeah, they get a little. And for anyone that's listening that doesn't know, Nanogen is well, I mean, that's a brand. Come on, Nanogen, sponsor me and Will, we need it.
I want that and some Maine.
And
double up on it.
What it is, it's actual sort of tiny little real hair fibres that have got static electricity on them, and they sort of pump them like through a little spray onto your head, and they thick out your hair. Yeah. And once you see someone pulling out the Nanogen, you're like, that's the beginning of the end.
They never used to do that on Two Pints. There's no Nanogen.
Yeah, it's a long time.
My postman used to have that, but he used to do it with, I think, like one of the letters in front. So he just looked like a Lego.
What?
He just would put an envelope in front, like a straight line, and do
a totally straight line like that, and then.
There was a point in the late '90s where that line was kind of a thing.
It's come back a bit now. Some people have had it.
Mate, have you seen baggy jeans? Baggy jeans are back. I can't wear them.
Nobody told me.
It took me so long to finally get into like fitted jeans, and now I'm like, I'm too old to go back to baggy jeans.
No, you're not.
Baggy jeans and ripped jeans like fucking Joe Bloggs back in the day.
Joe Bloggs and naff jumpers,
Naff jumpers. Yeah. We talked about that the other day, weren't we? The first time I got pissed on a caravan site.
Case.
Did you? Do you have any Joe Bloggs? Remember Joe Bloggs?
No.
It was a Manchester brand.
Joe Bloggs.
So now you're here, obviously, man. It's been how long since we've seen you two? I've not seen you in person for years. How long?
10 years, probably.
Kathryn,
we've
how long
caught up a couple of times, but I don't think I've seen you for 15.
I feel like I saw you at one of Sheridan's birthday parties.
That was right.
In a garden.
But I haven't seen her for 5 years.
Might have been.
So it must have been about 9 years ago at least.
Yeah, and Ralph, I feel like I saw you maybe about 4 years ago.
Where?
Oh, where?
I feel like
darling.
We've got the same voiceover agents.
Oh, that's right.
And there was a Christmas party.
Yes.
When they used to do them before the pandemic.
Yeah, before the pandemic, yeah. Well, but we've not really actually, any of us properly spent any time for like at least a decade.
Yeah, really. Not talking about,
Not like that.
Not properly catching up.
Yeah.
So, man, I mean, it's been, since when did Two Pints finish? How long has it been since that? Come on, Sue.
I know.
You're the creator.
Well, you finished last. You finished.
I was the last. No, me and I think it was.
Will was riding that train till the wheels fell.
I made it that much.
You're still paying me. I'll turn up.
I wrote it that much. They made Gaz fucking be in a wheelchair for a bit. It was
leave.
It was just leave. Fucking, I was in a wheelchair. It's also no, but I loved the show. I cried my eyes out when it finished. It was the last day. It was emotional because it was an end of an era. It was a massive part of our lives. And you know, we sort of grew up together on that show.
Yeah, definitely.
Massive
Huge.
important years of our lives. It was just great. And I wanted to speak to you, Sue, about how it all began. I think a lot of people will want to know. The start of Two Pints, how old was you, 16?
17.
When you wrote it?
I was definitely at university through the first few series. So
Yeah, you were, yeah.
That's why I dressed like a student.
To be fair, so did I.
I never stopped. And I think, must have been, I just sent a script into the BBC.
Because like you wrote,
Then it started.
Louise was at uni and it reflected some of your uni experiences.
Yeah, or my egotism.
But you don't just like necessarily have a script in a vacuum and you just send it to. So there must have been something. Did you start like in English? You just like writing essays, or you just love TV and stuff? Like why were you writing at that age?
Telly before that. I'd like entered competitions and things like that type of stuff, and then put a couple of sitcoms on the stage.
But for who?
Festivals.
Just for yourself? Just to write?
No, just different festivals and things like that.
And you kept winning prizes, I guess.
Yeah. and then just thought, I really want to do this for a living because I love sitcom. So that's just...
And where did Two Pints come from? Like the idea of these friends?
That was literally real life. Because if you remember, I think you probably came to the house that Janet and Johnny's was based on.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
where I lived.
Yeah. So people,
was it based on your house?
Oh, you
Well,
remember
that's
that?
my actual house.
People might not remember, like with the spiral staircase
wasn't
and
it
everything.
Grand's
Susan's
house?
actual flat that she lived in
Was it?
the house that she lived in was a direct replica of Janet and Johnny's.
I never knew
Colours,
that.
the
Orange
Yeah,
wall,
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Exactly. I never knew
you not
that.
know that?
No.
Yeah.
I'm like a fan. Oh, is that good? I'll watch it again and go, that's Susan's
Because you
flat.
used to come on set and go, oh yeah, it's just...
Yeah, this is a bit
exactly
weird,
the
yeah.
same.
So it must have been weird for you coming on set.
It was weirder when, like, on the recce, or I think we were filming some location and Ralph came round to that house and then just started going through the drawers and stuff.
Probably thinking,
just going like,
this is mine anyway. I wonder what's in this set.
Where I live.
Yeah.
So that was how it all started. But at the time, because we talk about it now and we think, well, you won't get away with 2 pints nowadays. You know, the things we said, no one was saying that stuff.
No, I'll tell you a story. The BBC are going through the archives at the minute and they're having to like sort of fill it out, anything that's offensive. And our brand was, I think the publicity department at the BBC at the time had come up with reassuringly offensive, just to replicate a certain beer brands.
Yeah, we don't mention beer brands unless
No, I know,
they're
that's
sponsored.
why I
give us
said
some
that.
money.
So none
I'm
of
aware.
them do. Yeah. But if
there's-
want to give us some money, then we'll do the quote
there's,
for the
Go on.
caption.
They can't find... So they've gone through an awful lot of comedy programmes over the last 20 years just to put in the archives. And they've taken out things that people might find offensive in 2022. And 2 Pints is one of the only ones where they can't find anything offensive to take out.
Kathryn's like, I'm offended by all of it.
Because there's no racism, there's no sexism, there's no...
Isn't that funny how...
That's where I had some jokes about being...
Like what?
No,
Did you?
Did I not?
no.
Isn't that
Oh,
funny?
I made one
Isn't that
sure.
funny?
No, I
There's
made a
nothing.
joke about the black people always dying first.
In the horror, yeah.
films.
No, you said the joke was
Yeah,
something
you did,
like...
but that's but the
self-referential.
joke's funny.
I
I
thought
thought-
Yeah.
The joke was something like, we're all going to be fine because the black person always dies first.
Because
And none of us
Louise
hear
doesn't
it.
see herself as
And
black.
none of us hear it. No, like jokes... Do you think... People are offended by different things, right? And
Yeah.
People are offended by everything nowadays.
But no, it's up to us societally to work out how to be responsible, to try not... If you can do things and still be funny without upsetting people, and certainly without picking on people, and certainly without picking on marginalised people, then they absolutely should. There's no need to just upset people for no reason. So there's always that trade-off. But that's an interesting question. I mean, I know it's a sort of a joke, like that line about a chuff like a wizard's sleeve, but like, who is that offensive to? Now, some people, I guess, might go, well, I don't like the language or I don't like the imagery. Is that enough to consider that being offensive? Or does one go, well, come on, like,
It's
grow
the meaning
up
behind it more
a
than
bit.
anything. It's if you write something or if you say something that has got hate behind it, is
Exactly.
the intent.
Right.
That's
then
my
it's
point.
offensive.
Exactly.
You've said
So
this
unless you
before.
hate wizards.
Well, no, it's
you're
not just
fine.
that
If you're trying
line
to
that...
denigrate the wizard or the sleeve or the chuff,
Or the chuff.
then-
And I think as well, it's all about character because Louise saying in the show, well, the black one always dies first and no one here is black, is her, the way Louise sees herself as not a black person.
Yeah.
Denial
That's what's
over.
funny.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with colour, really.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, Kathryn always had I think you won't mind me saying, always almost always had the most difficult lines to deliver, because Louise was the character who was sort of slightly on a different plane of reality a lot of the time.
Well,
That's a very difficult line to walk. It was kind of straightforward for me to just be, oh, I'm lovable and a bit dumb. And Gaz was like,
just dumb.
Oh, I'm just dumb. And you know,
and everyone loves me.
And Natalie was like, oh, I'm kind of get wound up and angry and everything. And Sheridan was very loving and so on and so on. But Louise, it's like, I guess we always tried to avoid back in the day comparisons to Friends, didn't we? Because it was not helpful. But like the Phoebe character was always the hardest one to try and get right for probably writers and Lisa Kudrow. And I think it was the same for you, because like, it's a difficult line to walk, to kind of not seem like too completely fucking insane, but also sell the comedy of somebody who's kind of away with the fairies. Like, did you find it different?
I found it quite really hard. And in fact, going back to the early days when I was at drama school, I auditioned for Donna. I got recalled for Donna for the pilot and read with you.
That's right.
And then it went to somebody else. And so that was the only character that I'd read and connected with. And then I was brought back, I think it was a year later or something, you were doing the show.
She was blonde, wasn't she, Louise, as well?
She was described as Baby Spice. Yes. So Donna was described as Scary Spice, which was why I think that I auditioned for it, because it had curly hair and I was
How
brown.
mature am I to write?
These are the girls. These are the archetypal women in my show.
Spice Girl.
Pick a Spice Girl.
And I remember thinking, and then but I hadn't read for Louise. And then at the last minute after they kept recalling me again for Donna. And then they were like, we found 3 girls, but we don't know which one to cast you all in. And the one character that we're finding difficulty with is the Louise character. And I really didn't want to read for that one, sorry. Because I just thought it was quite a difficult character and it was quite out there. And I was at drama school and I just, the others were much more relatable.
But probably the most needed character in the show, because you are the link between, the two couples, the two pairs, and also you had. You were the relief. Anything could come out of your mouth at any point, at any stuff. You know what I mean?
It's so difficult as well to have a character that says incredibly hateful things quite a lot of the time and remain lovable.
Yeah. The amount of time you used to say a lot, well, I don't really like you. You know what I mean? I'm friends with you, and I don't really like any of you. I used to say that. But you like Susan just said, you was a lovable character.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, out of all of the 5 of us, people won't know this, but I think I'm right in saying out of all of the 5 of us, none of us except you went to drama school. So none of us, like we attended drama groups when we were kids and whatever, but none of us were like formally trained in that way. And Central's not like the most kind of methody drama. It's not like the most out there, but it's still, it's a proper, serious kind of training drama school. And do you think it's fair to say, because like none of us are trained, there was a certain, I don't know about you guys, there was definitely a certain arrogance on my part, and I'm pretty sure there was some on yours. We just sort of bowled in and we were like, this will be fine, give us a script, we'll sell the jokes. But you were basically like a quote unquote proper actor doing all this training.
Well,
and you're
a student at the time.
a student,
so
but and you're trying to read these things going, I guess you're reading these sort of slightly crazy lines going, right, okay, now what's the method behind this? And you possibly would have almost been better just going, don't worry about the method, you're hilarious, just deliver it.
I remember the first week of rehearsals I went in, all my lines were highlighted, I'd put all the actions and done all my sort of methody prep for it. And then I think 3 days in, that all went out the window. And I realised that you couldn't, I took it way too seriously.
Yeah.
And
they were the best parts, wasn't it? The rehearsal room, finding our feet and adding bits here and there and coming together as a group. I think it was a massive, it really was a massive ensemble piece where each piece of the puzzle had to fit to make it work.
Yeah, and finding that energy. And then as time went on, we brought more of ourselves into the characters, didn't
100%.
we? And you
I just became Gaz after week 2.
What was going on in our lives.
Well, it's funny you said about coming in and like it was all highlighted and everything, because I do remember like literally in the first like few days, you would say like, I'm sort of agonizing over this stuff and I don't quite know what the line to walk. And I guess there was just a moment where you went, oh, fuck it, I'll just trust it and just go with it.
Yeah,
And that was when like everything just clicked, right?
Yeah,
Is that fair?
and that was a real training for all of us as well, doing that every week in front of live studio audiences, and the scripts changing every day, twice a day.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, was a lot of work for Susan as well.
Yeah, we had some insane producers that would just want.
How was that for you to take like, input for other people? Because you'd have a script at the beginning of the week and it would change throughout the week. Now, would that be us? Watching us perform it, going, well, that's not worked, or that.
Occasionally, yeah, of course. If it didn't work for you as an actor, then it's not going to work on television. And if you're watching and you can see that you're
in rehearsal rooms, yeah,
if you're uncomfortable saying it, you could tell. And usually you try and find a way to say it or whatever, and it would turn out okay because you're professionals. But occasionally there'd just be lines that just wouldn't work, or paragraphs or pages that just weren't working whatsoever. And they have to change because they wouldn't be in your cadence.
Yeah.
So,
also, we were very, everyone, the creative team, like Susan and...
Laughing with Chuckles.
There's a bit of a comedy legend called Paul Mayhew Archer, who I think he's died. We passed away.
He passed away.
Is he dead?
Oh.
Is he?
Is he dead now? If he's not, then sorry, Paul, but maybe.
Paul Mayhew Archer. We used to call him Laughing at Chucklesworth.
Let's check if Paul Mayhew Archer's dead.
Ralph's just killed Paul.
Paul's dead.
His son.
And just assassinated.
His son.
So Susan, so the creative team, you'd have Susan, you'd have the producers and whatever, and they were really, really receptive to ideas. So if you'd be like, I'm not sure, how do you feel about Louise saying this? Like, there's loads of productions, especially in American productions, loads of British productions where they'd be like, look, these are the lines, make them work, right?
Yeah.
And everyone, and Susan in particular, was so receptive to making changes or whatever. But I just remembered we had this what we thought was a hilarious joke. And do you remember there was a little old lady sitting at the bar, and we were supposed to say something to her that she didn't like. And I think you had the idea, or I had the idea, and they were like, oh, guys, we've got to do this, we've got to do this. She said, and then just this packet of peanuts sailed through the air and hit you in the face. It was quite early on. Do you remember it at all? And
That's
she'd go,
ringing a bell.
Yeah,
You've
you
been
remember
hit
it.
by...
And we'd go, okay, so could you just do this? This on the night of filming.
did she miss us
lady? And she'd just go, and she'd like, okay, I'll do it. And then somebody would go, instead of going, okay, and action, they'd go, okay, everyone settle. And this woman just picked up this packet of peanuts and whacked
I remember
it's
that.
going to crash. And you went, she's vicious, right?
I remember that, yes. I remember that now.
Yeah, and then...
So wait for action, she's launching peanuts.
She kept on throwing her, then she kept on missing. But then the funniest thing about, we were so sure it was going to be funny. And then in the actual final show, it does not work at all. You just say a line, and then out of nowhere, for no reason, a packet of peanuts just slowly hits you in the head and falls down. Yeah. And I was like, we should stop making these terrible suggestions. But Susan was generous enough to let it go, to let us go with it.
Yeah,
I barely remember.
There was times. I mean, they were some of the best, funniest times. But as we all came together as friends as well, and the first time for us doing live audience, I used to remember you used to hate walking out on your own.
On my own. I'd love it now. I'd be like,
darling!
You finally found your inner narcissist. Oh, wonderful, darling.
I hated that, because it would be a bit like getting likes on Instagram or something, because it's like, how many laughs would you get or claps would you get coming out? And obviously...
Were you first as well?
No, it was me and Sheridan first.
Yeah, me.
And then
she was last, I think.
Will and Natalie.
Yeah.
You used to
it'd
say,
be the
can I walk out with
I'd be
you
like,
guys?
I don't want to be on my own, because it would be like people go, yay! Johnny and Janet and all that. And then it'd be like, Louise! And it'd be like...
I think that's in your head. You doubted how much people liked you in the show, because obviously you weren't in a couple. And you used to always say to Susan, when am I going to get a boyfriend?
And you did write me one.
To be fair, you went through a few in the end.
Yeah, you dirty son. Remember that one where we went, where's he gone? And she went, oh, a little to the left. Oh, I like you. He was under the table. When Janet kicked off and threw the pie against the wall, and me and you looked under the table.
That's a very Susan Nickson line.
Donna.
Oh, little to the left.
Little to the left. Oh, I like you. He was under the table.
Yeah.
It was when Donna put the pie in my face.
Did you find... so obviously you didn't like walking out on your own.
No, I sound like such a saddo.
No, but listen, what I was about to ask was, like, did you find the live studio audience, like, invigorating or scary? And I asked because, you say you sound like such a saddo, not at all, but, like, me, I was like, that's just so fucking cocky in those days. I was like, it'll be fine. He didn't give a shit. But Sheridan used to, like...
Nervous.
Sheridan used to have
Yeah.
just crumble
Me-
before she'd
me
go on.
and
And then she went on,
Sheridan-
she'd be brilliant.
Yeah, me and Sheridan together would be nervous wrecks.
Would you slightly egg each other on, do you think, in a way?
I don't know, but we would always go, like, I would go, can I have a line run, please?
Should we run it?
Let's run it, let's run it, let's run it, let's run it.
Yeah.
We're just walking around the little makeup
room.
Yeah.
And then, boom, you know.
And then you go on and you're fine.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we were up in the canteen while he was robbing sausages.
Getting pissed. We used to have a couple of drinks. Remember that? We'd go to the canteen, have a beer.
It's insane. Well, do you remember when we used to rehearse? Not far from here, just down the road from here, that first year.
Playground.
Oh, yes. Was it Kensington Churchgate? Latimer Road?
Yeah.
No, there
Road.
was Churchgate,
No,
Notting Hill Church.
no.
Vicarage
We
Gate
used to
was
rehearse there, but
different.
we first rehearsed just down the road at Latimer Road.
Latimer Road we did.
Yeah.
And the
Yes.
first day we all went for a drink, didn't we? Lunchtime or something.
Well, come and get you when we want you to do your scene. We're across the road.
Then for the first like 2 weeks, I don't think it was the whole series, but for about the first 2 weeks of the series.
It was the
And
first series,
it's
yeah.
embarrassing to say this now because it's so horrendous, but nobody questioned it. Nobody said a word. We'd be like, we'd do a scene, and also we'd do a quick read through in the morning. Okay, who's first up? Oh, it's Natalie and Kathryn. All right, me, Sheridan, and Will just go across the road to the pub.
We'll be sitting
just
there.
order a beer, and nobody went, "Can you stop going to the pub and drinking?" And then they'd come and they'd go, "Okay,
see?
you guys are on," and you and Natalie would go and get a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Can you believe that we did that?
Yeah.
It seems absolutely
Yeah,
insane.
well, you're all 20. You're all
But I don't
19,
think 20-year-olds
20-year-olds.
I still don't think 20-year-olds
No,
would do
would
that now.
if they
It
were
was-
a welder.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Take a
Yeah,
break.
20-year-old welders
If
would
you're
do
a
that.
welder.
But I don't
They-
think it's our industry that's changed so much as just society that's changed, and like younger generations are different anyway. But I can't conceive now,
No.
and even the industry's changed. Like the fact that nobody said to us that was an unusual thing to do. I can't imagine a scenario now where 5 20-year-olds pop across to the pub on a rehearsal day before they're seen in half an hour
No.
and keep going backwards and forwards. Can you believe it?
But like Susie said, we
Seems
were young, and I think we
It was a different time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we were lively and energetic, and we didn't come in the mornings tired. We was like, yay!
Yeah.
Thrived on
We
that.
still managed to bring it.
We did.
Yeah, we
We
did.
did.
And do you-
Fiercely.
Do you remember how it kicked, Susan? This is for you as well. When it kicked off, can you remember how it was received? Because remember, Ralph reminded me about this. That what was it it started on that gave it its massive rise? Because
BBC Two.
yeah, but there was something that was on. But remember, you told me there was a channel.
It started on
was
Choice,
Choice.
BBC
Choice, but it got repeated a lot, and I think it picked up
Yeah.
momentum, didn't it?
Yeah. It got a big audience on Two, and then
Yeah.
there was this new channel which was run by Stuart Murphy, and I think he was about 32
Yeah.
at the time, which felt really old.
Didn't it? It's like, oh, he's really old, yeah.
Yeah.
It's mad.
And he said, I really want that from BBC Two to sort of headline our this new channel he was in charge of. And that's where sort of the younger audience really found it after that, and where it started to get very successful and loved by that audience, but absolutely loathed by
Well, the
more-
critics didn't
the
care for it
critics
at all, did
absolutely
they?
hated it. They like it now. It's
Some
very
did.
strange.
Isn't that funny?
Some had the balls.
Even the ones that liked it were like, hey, this is all right. But there's
Yeah.
this really weird thing now where it's like gone all the way full circle. And now it's a bit like, hey, remember that show? Clever, wasn't it? And it's
Clever
like,
cult
we didn't say it at the time, did you?
It's always after the event, and they look back and they go, why do they make shows like this anymore? It's like, at the time, you fucking killed it.
Yeah.
That was quite hard for us at the time as
Yeah,
well.
it was.
Because
I hate
we
it.
you know,
It
we
was.
knew it was a popular show and it had great viewing figures, but it didn't have like any recognition at all. It
I
was sort
found
of
that very
under-
difficult.
It was
Yeah.
looked down
Very
upon.
difficult.
Sometimes you felt like you had to apologise for it, which
Yeah.
is like, why am I apologising for the show? Like you'd say, oh, you're in that 2 pints. Yeah, but I do other things. It's like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
to
yeah,
be proud of it, because
Yeah.
I'm massively proud of it now.
Hugely
It's a big
successful.
regret.
Massively
It's
successful.
It's a big regret of mine, actually, that back in those days,
affected you.
It affected me, and I wasn't more like, fuck you, this is good, rather than like, oh, God, caring too much about what
people
those
think.
Yeah.
But that's just
100%.
youth. That's just being,
I guess,
being
yeah.
a young man.
I guess.
Yeah, you
I
want
mean,
to, yeah.
You would be, I mean, you're probably a couple of years older than me, so I mean, you were extremely young to have a show and written. Like, did this sort of vaguely negative critical reception bother you, or did you just
That
not care?
stuff didn't bother me. That was absolutely fine. I enjoyed like the audience laughter and
Mm-hmm.
the production. I enjoyed the writing of the show. sort of more. The internet was less safe back then, and it's not safe now,
Oh, that's
obviously,
so
by
true,
any
yeah.
stretch. So you get sort of very obsessive people
Really?
who would
Yeah.
really, really like get death threats and things like that.
Shit,
So-
really?
Seriously.
Wow.
To the office and stuff.
That I mean, you don't need to go into detail, but
That's fine. You can go into
to me. I mean, I guess the internet was around in 2002, but to me, it just seems like this sort of slightly archaic idea that, like, it's so
It was
readily available
very
now, and you just
strange.
pop on, a streaming channel, or you do everything online. And I guess it was around in 2002, but it wasn't as ubiquitous. You didn't watch TV on the internet, for
No,
example.
there was just it would just be a group of and
There wasn't even Facebook.
Mostly men, I guess. Would
almost
just
certainly.
sit there watching it and hating every minute of it. Like, oh, I'm really having a bad time as I watch this, and then watching it again and just going
Yeah,
on the
just
internet
to
say,
really decide
"I'm
quite
hating
how
it
bad it
so
was."
Just
much."
to decide on what bit I
Just
hate the
watch the
most.
viewing figures go up as more people
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of hate wank off to it. Just in a little
Because
way.
another hate wanker.
Crime.
But do you think, you said the internet was a less safe place, but I mean, Twitter's vile for people not
Twitter's
liking stuff.
Ugly, yeah.
It's a
but
cesspit of a place for that kind of thing.
People can complain about it more. It's more policed by the actual police.
Yeah.
If you really, really want to push it, you can have people prosecuted, or you can
Right.
find people.
But there were no consequences
there's-
back then. It was just a free for all.
No, if you want to send an anonymous death threat, I mean, it still happens today.
Of course,
Not
yeah.
to me, but like to
Yeah.
people.
I was going to say, you're still getting threats over 2 pints.
I know.
That show, I've watched it 1,000 times,
Yeah.
and it's fucking angry.
And I've hated it every
I hate every
time.
minute of
Every
it.
single time.
That's crap.
I know. I just get people just angry at me because I'm left wing.
And 'cause you're a bit of a dick.
Yeah, and I'm a bit of a dick, yeah. For people that aren't in the industry, here's a way of looking at it. Think about a job interview that you're going up for, or that you have got. If you're in a place that you're happy with in your career, or you're doing well, or you're hoping to move up, think about how important a job interview is to you. Chances are, in the course of your life, you'll do 8, 10 job interviews. We do, if we're lucky, we do 10 a month. Like, if we're very lucky, if we're really in
If you go
demand,
in America, you do.
yeah, well, exactly. And we call them auditions, but they're job interviews, and they are no less stressful for us than your job interview, if you're listening back home, is for you, because there's so much riding on it.
Yeah.
And everybody has their way of not losing their mind about it. And you've just described yours. You go, okay, well, so really thoroughly prepare and do this and do that. What's really quite fun, I'm not saying I don't prepare, but what I am saying is I have to trick myself into thinking I don't really care. Because if I care too much, I lose my mind, and I'll carry that into the room, and I'll carry like a desperation.
Right.
I won't be able to relax, I won't do it. So I sort of almost have to walk into it. I have to get up in the morning. I have to be prepared, learn the lines and everything, and know what I'm going to do. But I have to walk into that room and get on the tube and go into the audition room just going, oh, whatever, I've got this thing, and then I'll probably go and meet a mate for a coffee. I can't do it any other way. Otherwise, I'll go
Arguably, it's
mad.
worse for you guys because it's such an oversubscribed profession that
Oh, yeah.
the people who do in the interviews, the job interviews, you'd say, or the auditions are going to see many, many more people for that particular role
Yeah.
than they would do for just second plumber.
Well, you're on the other side of the camera. I've always wanted to be. Well, I got lucky enough to do that once, and I produced something about it.
Viking Destiny.
No, it was
sorry.
In with the Flynns. I starred and produced, Ralph. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is, to be on the other side of the camera, like you, in the casting process, and you're going to see all these people, and every one of them wants it. But what is it? Is it you're looking for someone to give you something something to find something else in the character? Or are you looking for what you've got in your mind that you've written?
Yes, it's whoever comes in and does the best job in the case of auditions. Like you were literally the last person we saw.
Was I the last one?
Last.
Yeah, they tried
person
everyone
watched.
else in the industry. Everyone else. Please don't bring him in. Oh,
Let's get everyone else in before we get
is
Willie.
Tony Slattery not available? Christ, I love him on Whose Line Is It? Anyway, he's 40 years too old. I don't care. Don't bring Will.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Well, yeah, thanks for that, Sue. Yeah, keep you right in the bollocks on a Friday. But yeah, so that's interesting. So who was the first person you cast for 2 Pints then?
It was either him, your friend there, Ralph
This guy.
Little, or Sharon. Was it you? Yeah.
It can't have been Sheridan because
No.
I auditioned for Janet.
So it was with the girls.
So here's what I remember. It's really interesting. Everybody has a different sort of like way
Yeah,
in, right?
yeah.
The first I heard about it was, I think I met Tracy Gilliam, the casting director, and I read, and they were like, great. And we were just
I saw you on tape, yes, so definitely.
We were just doing a rehearsed reading. I don't even know if these things really still exist. It's been so long and the world's been shut down for so long. But again, for anyone listening that's not in the acting industry, certainly the way things used to get commissioned was you'd get a script, you'd get it into good shape, and then you would ask a group of actors to come in for a day.
I'll just put it on its feet.
Yeah, and put it on its feet. And
Was that a rehearsed reading or a paper pilot? Because you guys did a paper pilot for this.
Yes, it was a paper pilot. You're exactly right. So what would happen is you'd come in. Yeah, sometimes it's just people reading around a table to see what that sounds like. But this was a group of us. We'd be cast. We were going to come in. We were going to read this pilot script, and then at the end of the day, at a specific time, we were going to perform it at TV Centre in West London.
Right.
And we were going to perform it in front of a load of commissioners and execs and whatever. And
Yeah,
if they liked it, they were going to commission the show. And that is what my experience was on Two Pints. I came in, did an audition, and then he said, we'd like you for the rehearsed reading. And I turned up for that rehearsed reading. And
Remember?
yes, I remember. I've talked about it on this podcast before, but I'm going to remind the girls because you're a fucking disgrace. You're a disgusting fucking individual.
What?
I'll tell you in a
What did he
second.
do?
I'll tell you in a second. So the rehearsed reading, there was me, Claire Buckfield, who had been in 2.4 Children.
Yes.
Maxine Peake.
Maxine
And
Peake.
Was Donna.
And this is this
Maxine
amazing
Peake.
thing. I know I've said this in
Weird,
podcast
yeah.
before, but it's still not.
Lucy Punch was
Lucy Punch. Maxine.
Yeah,
is this,
she went up.
Lucy Punch was Louise, and Maxine Peake, who's known for being this such a incredibly intense, fabulous, dramatic actor. Did the rehearsed reading of Two Pints.
Yeah.
Playing Donna, talking about Gaz wanking over porn all of that. And it just seems so
Lovely.
funny to me looking back at that now. So anyway, we did this
She
thing.
didn't
and-
work after not getting that job. did she?
so Maxine never went in. And then obviously, long story short, it got commissioned. But you can sort of tell the timeline by that because it was so. I don't know if I was cast, but basically me and Will were there, and then all you guys came in after. Anyway, that story about Will. I said, fuck it, right. So
And what is this story?
so I met him.
was
I
just
met
a
him.
bit
I've
of
never met him
initiation.
before.
A bit of
I'm doing it with Will
initiation.
Mellor. It's like, all right, mate. He's like, and he was so friendly. He was lovely. He was like, all right, mate, how are you doing? Whatever. Hey, I'm Will, and I'm Jumbo. Oh, you know
I
all
didn't
the
say
else.
I'm Jumbo.
No, oh, yeah.
say
No,
I'm Jumbo.
he had
That's
that-
what he says.
he had
Every
that-
time he sees you, he goes,
And
I'm Jumbo. Because he was on
and he
the
had that
way up.
whole, you
Do
remember?
the people listening to this know about Jumbo?
Of course they
What,
do.
Jumbo from
Hollyoaks.
Hollyoaks,
He
yeah.
said it all the time because
Oh.
he takes the piss out of me.
And I'm Jumbo.
Because on the there used to be the advert for it, and I come on at the end.
Jeremy's like that. Kurt.
Yeah.
And it's like, Tony. And then he goes, and I'm Jumbo.
I was
Like a
basically fucking
scumbag.
Squeak, wasn't I, from fucking
Screech.
Screech,
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell.
The dweeb character.
That was the dweeby blonde
So
one.
anyway, so then he turned up, he's like, all right, mate, hey. And he was lovely. He was so charming. You know what he's like. I mean, he can pretend to be charming and occasionally intelligent. He goes, oh, mate, listen, fucking royal family. I love that. And I was like, oh, thanks, mate. That's really kind of you. So we sit down. He's like, oh, mate, you were looking forward to this, mate, are you? And I'm like, yeah, God, this guy's really nice, right? And we've been sat down maybe 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes after I met him. And he was going, so, anyway, and he starts putting his hand down the back of his jeans
Oh no!
and rustling around. And what I now know, picking his arsehole. Seriously, Kathryn, seriously, right?
That
Picking his
sounds
ass.
like something you would do, right?
What?
He learnt it from the
How dare
best.
you, right? And he goes
You're
like
the
this.
kind of
This is
person
five minutes after meeting him, and he goes, anyway, and he's in the middle of, I was in the middle of saying something like, hey, I don't know how this is going to go. And he just goes, pulls it out of the back of his jeans and goes, smell that. And I just met him.
Okay.
He's a rancid man.
I'm sure
Whatever you're
you
about to
used-
say, be very careful.
But I'm sure you used to fart and then
He did.
go like
Ralph
that. Did
learned a
he
lot.
not?
I
Did
taught
you
him a
not
lot.
used to sit on
He was
your
my
hand?
apprentice.
Probably.
Oh, was
that
that my
definitely sounds like something I would
I
have
don't
done.
remember.
That definitely sounds like something I would have done when I was
Well, you know that you've
I
done
remember you
something
once
like
said to me, you were talking about that. You went, me and him were rancid, right? Let's be fair. We thought it was hilarious. when
We were
in our early
young.
20s.
Yeah, you
young
were
and
always sort of
dickish.
like
to
farting
just
and things.
stink and be horrible and just
Yeah.
make everyone else's life
Yeah.
a misery.
And we egged each other
Right.
on as
And
well,
I
which is
sort
bad.
of still think it's quite funny now. But anyway, no, right. So, and I just remember there was this moment where you, Kathryn, went, I've never forgotten it. You went, Ralph, listen, I can help you with that, right? Or you can take some peppermint supplements.
That is so something I would
She went,
try.
you can take some peppermint supplement, peppermint capsules, drink peppermint tea, and she said, and that will clear that right up. And I'll never forget turning around and going, thanks, Kathryn, but you're operating on the misunderstanding that this is something I want to cure.
Oh, that's tickled me ass.
Do you ever remember the drawing of the fairy and the foot? It's difficult this on a podcast because without the drawing and without the visual, it's not going to be as funny for anyone listening.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I've just always remembered it. Kathryn's quite a beautiful drawer. She can draw really, but specifically drawing.
Sketcher.
Drawer.
Okay, I'll go with that then.
One who draws.
One who draws.
And
Fairies.
you know, everyone has their script and everyone sort of like doodles and whatever. And Kathryn would doodle often like flowers. It's like quite intricate flower petals and like sort of fairy characters and whatever. And I came out to sit in the little green room where I wasn't me and you weren't in a scene and the girls were in a scene and Kathryn had gone in. And you picked up a script, which I now know is Kathryn's, right? But I thought it was yours. And I went, there's this intricate, lovely, cute fairy drawing with I went, oh, mate, did you draw that? And you went, yeah, I drew that. And I looked at it again and I went, no, you fucking didn't. And you went, there was a fairy and it had one intricate foot with this beautiful heel on it. And it had one little club foot that looked like a golf club. Like the worst, dibbiest foot. And you went, I drew that foot. For some reason, I've never forgotten that. I'd give anything to have that picture just to laugh at Kathryn's intricate drawing and you going, I'll finish that off. Just like a hockey stick.
Do you know what I'd give anything to have? Do you remember the bar in rehearsals? They used to have a bar where we used to rehearse. There was a wooden top and we all used to draw on it and sign it and write messages.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to have that because all through the years, there was a wooden bar top and we had a pen in it and we all signed it. We've been drawing
I
on
remember
it. There was
now.
Lee Oaks on it. There was loads of us. And we just sit there writing messages and random shit.
Doodling and...
Yeah, I'd love to have that. I mean, what a piece of memorabilia that. Because over the years, so much random shit of just sitting around.
It'll be burnt now somewhere.
What happened to the sets of 2 Pints?
Got burnt.
Oh my God.
Don't tell me that. It makes me feel really sad.
Recycled,
Well,
don't
they haven't got the storage space at TV
No.
Centre. They're all flats now, aren't they?
So what happens now, Sue, for you? I mean, what have you been doing since 2 Pints?
I was in America for a bit and I got really lonely, so I came back.
Legit, it's a lonely place, America,
It's
isn't it?
so lonely.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't drive either. So it was
tricky
it was
if you don't
so
drive.
difficult to make friends or to get
It is,
anywhere.
yeah.
So all you do is sort of go to work and then write in sort of a basement room. You don't really see the sunshine
were
or
you in
anything
America?
like
LA?
that. Studio City, yeah. So just on Ventura Boulevard.
Yeah.
And then I just got so lonely. Just it's like I have to come home. So I came home for love.
Oh, really?
And then at the minute I'm doing a show with Dame Sheridan Smith.
Dame
Sheridan.
Smith.
What are you
How
doing now?
wonderful. What's the show?
Can
you talk about it?
I can sort of talk about it. Yeah, it's a show for Sky. It's called Rosie Malloy Gives Up Everything, and it's about sort of the product of the ladette culture, but now we've reached this age. So it's like the if you're a ladette back in 2002 or whatever when 2 Pints started, then these days you are a bit like Kathryn and me here. You're on water and I'm on kale.
Kale.
She's on she's on blended fucking leaves. What is that?
To be fair,
Blended.
it's funny you say that about like that. Please carry on, but just let me interject here.
No,
It's
that's
really
about it.
funny because we, you guys were like the ladette culture, and we, of course, in that time, we're lads. It's taken me years to try and shake this idea of, this lad thing. It's not necessarily reflective of who I am. And I only just sort of I feel like I was able to play a role professionally where it was
grown
like, oh, right, you're actually a grown man, right?
Yeah.
When I did Death in Paradise. So, and it's so funny because here we are and we're doing a 2 Pints podcast and here we are. Look at me and Will, we've got a beer in front of us. Yeah, this is our first, we've been here 8 hours. This is our first beer of the day. We're supposed to have one at every podcast and Will's like, oh, just get me the alcohol-free stuff. Like times have changed
Really,
big time.
has.
So go on, so
But
please
it's-
tell me a bit more about
Yeah,
this.
so it's when you get to that stage, or what age do you get to that stage where you go, actually, I'm gonna quit smoking, or actually I'm gonna have to stop eating so much junk food, or it's damaging my mental health or my behaviours at the moment. And it is a comedy. It just sounds really boring. So
like
I've got kale.
laugh riot.
You know what I mean?
No, go on.
So that's what you're doing at the moment.
That's what we're just about
What was you
to
writing in
start
America?
Filming.
What was you writing for?
I can't say. It's,
Oh, right.
it's ghostwriting for.
But you
big
go,
stuff.
I've never heard you be more northern. What was you writing in America?
America.
it comes out every now and then.
Hey.
Fucking, what was you writing in
It
America?
comes out every now and then. So,
Breaking
so
Bad.
after 2 Pints had finished, what did you do then? I mean, you obviously carried on writing and
Exactly that. Just tried to get a show, a pilot. Actually, Natalie tried to get a pilot away for BBC One, which they turned down. Which is a really good pilot, actually. Should revisit that at some point.
You heard it here first. Susan's going to dust off her, like, that's going back.
And then just got a plane out. I just thought, oh, I'm so tired. I just really like, and the lifestyle out there is really, really nice. But as well, it's sort
I
of,
can't
it's
agree
healthy.
more. So I went out to LA. My agent was on at me if they were going out for pilot season, and I was because it's just not me. I was like, I don't think
But you've got a very strong American accent, though.
Listen,
we can all agree.
I can do an American accent.
You
when I need
look,
to.
you look good for America, though.
No, but I tell you what it is.
Let's hear
I
it.
lack in confidence when it comes to, like, I'm comfortable here. It works me fucking bollocks off to get to where I've got to, and I think, why do I want to go and start again?
Yeah.
When they don't give a shit about what you've done here, they're like, well, we don't care about that.
Yeah.
So I thought it's going to be tough, and not only that, I'm not very good on my own. So I got out there and I said, right, I'll go. And I was supposed to be there for a couple of months, and I flew out. And I saw a guy on the plane who was in True Blood.
Oh, Stephen Moyer.
Yeah, Stephen Moyer. And I saw him on the plane. I got me really excited. I thought, ooh, I'm out there with these lots because I love True Blood. And I see him in it and I was like, Sucky. That's what he says in it. And I was proper starstruck. So anyway, I thought, and he was like, hey, I know you from it. And I was like, oh, sweet. So I get out, meet him for the first day, dead excited, get out. And then I had probably 2 meetings. And then it was Coachella, so they had the weekend off. And I was on my own.
Yeah.
I had no castings. And even the castings I did have, I'd go into a room and they wouldn't even look at me. It was like, yeah, come in. And I was like, yeah. And it was on a computer or something, tapping away. And there'd be a camera and a light. And then I'd hit them, yeah, on the mark, go. And then they wouldn't even look at me. And I'd be acting my tits off. And then it's, okay, thank you. And then that'd be it. So it was just so soul destroying. And I thought, I don't need this, you know what I mean? And if it was my dream, then I'd fight for it, and it wasn't. And then, I'm on Sunset Boulevard or wherever you are, these amazing, I was staying in Beverly Hills, and you think, it all sounds glamorous, but if you're on your own no matter where you are.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's no community. I'd go out in the evening, try and talk to people, find a sports bar.
Oh,
But
they'd be scared shitless.
you know the
of you.
fuck I was talking about. And I was drinking because I was like nothing else to do.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
I ended up getting
Because it's
pissed
You
every
didn't
day.
have any ground while you were there.
And my family, I was missing my family, and I'm sat there getting pissed, and I wake up hungover going, what am I doing here? What? And then I went to Vegas for the weekend because he could drive to it
It's
from
an
LA.
hour away,
Not on
isn't
your
it?
jack.
So it's just
No, I went with a friend of mine, and he was out there. There was a few actors, a lot of English actors out
Yeah,
there.
there's loads, isn't there?
Who were trying to do stuff and out of work, you know what I mean? And so we went, and then I came back hungover, and then I just said, I'm going home. And the manager went, well, if you're not going to give it a good go. And I was like, well, I've had 3 castings in 4 days, 5 days. I thought I'd be doing 5 a day, you know what I mean? And they've been soul destroying. And I flew from LA and I went to Butlins within a day to meet my family in Butlins.
That feels
And
very-
it was the best
I bet
feeling.
you were
That
like,
feels like the most Will Mellor thing I've ever heard.
it really was.
I went from Beverly Hills to
From
Butlins.
LA to Butlins.
I went from Beverly Hills to Butlins.
and Butlins was,
My
Butlins
wife
was
was
where you
there,
felt
my
happy.
kids was there.
You
I
walked into
walked
Butlins,
in
you
and I
went,
was like, I'm home.
I'm home.
Yeah.
Butlins! I loved Butlins as a kid, and I went there, my wife, and I didn't tell them I was coming. And I walked in, and they were watching whoever was on the stage, Porky Pig or whatever it was, I don't know what the fuck it was.
Porky
But I
Pig.
walked
The
in.
Jungle Brothers.
It might have been To Me To You on the stage. And I walked in and my daughter ran over, my son grabbed me.
Aw.
And I cried my eyes out. And I thought, fuck Hollywood, I don't need it. I've got my family, and that's all I need. And I totally agree with you, Susan. If you haven't got a network out there, a social network, it's so tough.
But also you can audition for stuff on tape now.
Well,
you don't
these
have
days,
to be out there.
listen,
You can
the
do all of that.
It was
at home.
already going that way anyway. But
Yeah.
what I think a lot of people, again, because I'm just aware that this is a very kind of industry acting, writing conversation,
Yeah,
and not
it's
everyone
little.
listening is going to think that. But there are parallels because a lot of people listening to this will feel the same. That like the pandemic has really given loads of people a psychological change in going, I don't need to
huge.
work that way that I
Yeah,
used to work.
yeah.
Zoom meetings work just fine. I don't need
But
to
that
travel
level
in
of
to do
loneliness
that.
for people.
Yeah, and it was already getting to this point where you would do self-tape. I mean, to be honest, I've never even
Have
got.
you ever got a self-tape
not,
casting?
not a fucking
Me
single one.
neither.
I've never got one. I've never got so much as a
Never.
recall from a self-tape.
Never.
I prefer going in the room, but at the end of
I
the
do.
day, they are available and it happens. And the pandemic has made everybody go, okay, well, that's a doable thing. So you don't necessarily have to. But I will say that it's really interesting to hear you guys say that because I hear that that story about America and about LA a lot. And what to my personal absolute shock and surprise, I loved it in a way that I thought I was going to hate
You're
it.
probably good on your own, though, aren't you?
It's because I just play PlayStation and just knock one out. You needed to just tear the head off it more, Will. You know that.
But did you go out when your fiance was there or
No,
before?
I went out there in 2008. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
back a couple of times since, but my missus is American. But what I found about LA, which I thought I was going to hate, was I was there for 3 months in the end, and I loved the life. Didn't book a fucking job, and I loved the lifestyle. But I had football, and it makes a huge difference. So before I booked a flight.
The NFL.
Yes, I played American football in the NFL. Yes.
No,
You can
me-
tell by his
Yeah.
broad shoulders
what-
that he was
Yeah,
worked
there's
well.
loads of those Brits.
What I mean is, there's
Vinnie
loads.
Jones
There's
played
so,
there,
yeah,
didn't
Vinnie
he?
Jones. There was a team called Hollywood United, right?
Right.
And so this is the order it went in. I organised a flight, organised a house, organised football, and then organised a car. It was like that much of a
Smart.
priority.
See,
And
that's
really,
smart.
it was just for my enjoyment. But the truth is, this is why people who play are so lucky because I think I just went to a training game on day 2. And what happens is you've got a ready-made social network of 20 people who all have a similar sensibility. They're either Brits out there, or if you're an American and soccer is your game, then you've got quite a European sensibility. And they just took me into the wing and went, oh, we're going to this thing. So I just arrived to a group of friends, and what a difference it made. Also, this is the maddest. I don't think I've ever talked about this on the podcast. There's a maddest fucking thing. We found this house, right? And it was not long after
The Bosch house.
Okay, I'll get it right. So it was a recession. The
Find
dollar
where it's going.
the dollar was very weak to the pound, and what it meant was that your pound went twice as far. Essentially, it was about 1 to 2. So everything was half price in America. And we found this house. It was like the first house that my mate Pete, who went out with me, it's the first house that he found online. It was literally just went places to rent, LA. Found that, he went great. He went, do you want to go out? I went, yeah, fine. It was about $5,000 a month, which is a shitload of money, but $5,000 a month, so it was half that in England. So, long story short, we get to this house.
And there was a few of you.
There was 3 of us to start with, but then I was on my own after a little while. We get to this house, and it's right at the top of the West Hollywood Hills, perched on top of a hill. It had the best view in LA. It was absolutely incredible. And I was so blasé about it. I was like, houses in LA are cool. I didn't realize I was in one of the coolest houses in LA, and we just stumbled upon it. And it is so cool that I had a chance to buy it, and it was like, what, 800 grand, 2000? I'm like, I'm not going to fucking buy it. I live in London, and I never booked a job in LA. So I'm like, nah, fuck it. Because the one thing I did hate about LA, just to get sidetracked a second, is exactly what you hate about it and what you hate about it. I hate walking into rooms and going, hi, I'm here for the audition. And they're like, yeah, sign your name on the list. There's 80 other people coming here. Do your thing into camera and then fuck off. Like,
horrible.
I was like, you've spent years building up like a reputation here. I want to
Exactly.
just start from scratch again. It's
hard.
really hard, right? Anyway, this house, I could have bought it for 800 grand. I was like, too expensive. It is now the house of the protagonist in the show Bosch on Amazon Prime. He's a detective, Bosch, Bosch. And he's a...
I self-taped
And
it.
did you?
Obviously didn't fucking get it, did I?
The character is an ex-screenwriter who's turned into a detective,
Right.
and that is his house. That's the view of his house in LA.
The character's house or the
No,
actor's
The
house?
character's house. It rents out for photo shoots for 20 grand a day.
Wow.
Regularly. And
Yeah.
I lived in it for 3 months. And I was just like, this is a nice house. No clue how cool it was.
Gosh.
So yeah, I lived in. So anyone listening to this, look up Bosch House LA, and that's where I lived for 3
Yeah,
months.
and just think
Completely mad.
how
That could
much
have been
better
you.
I would have been in the role. Bastards.
Well, but again, it's your American accent that's so strong.
Stop trying to get me to do an American
I'm so trying to get you to do
it.
it.
Fucking happen.
Yeah.
I tell you what, because I put a little message out to tell people that we're doing a new series, and I tell you, I get asked a lot for 2 Pints stuff because nostalgia and people who love 2 Pints have still shown it their kids. It's still growing an audience, and they keep asking what your favourite episode was. So I'm going to ask you to.
Yeah. Or favourite moment.
Or favourite moment, starting with Susan.
Prepared.
No, you don't have to prepare. Just think of an episode, maybe one of the specials.
My favourite episode
What are you most proud
was
of?
the musical special. That was that.
Okay,
I just thought that
I
was an
will agree with
extraordinary
that then.
achievement. But like, what,
Susan, come on, give us an opinion.
No, because I've got to be quite political because I've got to have one that had you in it. As
No,
well.
you
She
don't.
left
Oh, I
around.
don't.
No, you don't. Most of the episodes
Susan,
without
be
Ralph in it were the better ones.
Susan, how long
Once
have
he
you- how
died, we
long
got
have
rid of
you
the
known
baggage.
me, and how much do you think I would care about that?
He left us, Susan. Don't give it him. He left us.
Then it would be the live, I think.
The live
Oh,
episode.
the one I wasn't fucking in.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You would have known the lines. You never did.
Oh.
He never knew his lines. Remember?
By the way, I know,
He used to
Why
leave
do
his
you do
script at the table after rehearsals and go, I better fucking know it in the morning.
Do you know
though."
what?
I've got a
Do you know what?
photographic memory,
Yeah, do
mate.
you know what? I'm
Yeah,
going
you
to
do
close
that.
out this fucking myth, right?
true.
I'm sick of...
No, it's
Kathryn,
true.
Kathryn tells the truth, but there's this myth that's gone around, and you fuckers all said it on camera, not except for Kathryn. It's
true, though.
And it was... No, it's not true. I knew my lines and everybody else's lines. And it's a skill I've still got to this day. I fucking like 12 pages. at the
Sheridan's
end
got
of,
a photographic memory.
and so
Sheridan
for
actually
lines, and
does,
I can
though.
literally look at a page and just know them. So just because you have to fucking go home and spend 7 hours
It's
because you can't read,
But there's more
don't
to
blame that
acting than
shit.
learning your
Well,
lines.
that may be
You
the
don't
case.
just learn your lines.
That may be the case, but you're not talking about my acting. You have perpetuated this myth about how I never learned my
What
lines,
I'm saying
and it's not
is,
true.
You
It's
got
not
fined
true.
every day for not doing your lines. You come in and go, you not even took your script home on rehearsal. Do you
That's
remember?
Clearly not true. And I tell you, this is.
She
and I-
remembers.
And I tell you this. By Wednesday, what we used to do was a run in front of all the execs and everything on Wednesday to give Susan time to rewrite stuff. And without fail, I knew every one of my lines by that Wednesday afternoon, and everybody else's, without fail.
That's good.
Do you still have that skill now? Like,
Yeah, it's amazing for Death in Paradise because I have to do
That monologue at the end.
that monologue at the end. It's like this last one. I had
Let me sit you all down and tell you about yourselves.
I had a 12. I know it's so weird. I had a 12-page denouement, and actually, there was one particular episode where the geography of it. It's not been on yet, so I can't talk too much. But the geography of the murder, the crime scene, when it was written in London, then the set that we were on, or the location we were on, the geography was all wrong, and had been very different. So I had to rewrite it the night before to go, well, that needs to be there and that needs to be there, and then learn it. So I couldn't have learned it any earlier, and it was like 12 pages, and it was fine. I didn't drop a line. So I've now, as Will says, you're not wrong. That doesn't make me a better actor. It just makes me able to get away with being lazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was my point.
Which I will take. I'm not saying I didn't do that on 2 Pints,
Like,
but you fuckers always
Back to
perpetuated
the
this myth that I
question.
didn't know my lines, and
So
that's not
your
true.
favourite episode was the live one.
Yes.
Now, I have to just say this. Susan fucks with us all on the live one. I
No,
thought,
no, you mostly.
No, fuck you.
Didn't you juggle
You
fire?
have to juggle fire, and she had me on a unicycle. And for fuck's, and I
you
smashed
did?
on my knee and falling off it in
Did
rehearsal.
you juggle
She wanted me-
beforehand, though?
The bollocks!
So you just
Susan
learned to
She had to
juggle.
learn to juggle, and
And
she
you
tried to
did
put him
it.
on a unicycle.
She'd done it to fuck with us all. So we all had to learn a skill. So it wasn't just, it's live and it's terrifying. Now, it's live, it's terrifying, and you're juggling fire and eating it. And on a unicycle, the unicycle got canned because I couldn't do it at the time, kept falling off it. So
Now you're on a unicycle.
I
just always assumed you could always juggle, and so it was just like a thing
No,
of
I had
what's
to
your
learn it.
skill, I
I
won't
was
give you
sat at home
fire.
watching telly, juggling bleeding things to try and practice. And they were on fire. I had to
on
put
fire.
one down my pants and one in the mouth.
It's quite impressive.
Not the first time I've done that.
But that's why I gave you really quite dangerous things to do. I don't.
I'm not-
know.
I didn't drive a little
Because
motorbike.
you gave me something that I could do,
Yes,
which was wrap my
definitely.
legs around my head
and
and have
the
someone spin
tongue-
me.
I had
Yeah.
loads of tongue
Oh, yeah.
twisters.
And then
That's not the first time you've done that either.
That's when you put one down your pants and your mouth.
Yeah.
And tongue twisters.
Yeah, tongue twisters.
But I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know I could do tongue twisters.
I
but-
just assumed
It was
you
just,
could.
it was so
Trained.
Susan. She was
Yeah.
like,
You know, they're essential.
I'm going to get them this live, so they're terrified. And then let's...
Yeah.
I think that was the most terrified that I've ever been.
But imagine, can you remember at the end of it, the elation? We were all jumping, hugging each other.
Oh, the adrenaline was
Over.
The curtain went down and we just went mad. It was like, we've done it.
Yeah.
Did Sheridan have a line where somebody walked in and went, Janet, you all right? And she was just watching, the TV was facing away from the camera and she was just staring at the TV and went, Janet, you all right? And she goes, I'm just watching BBC Three and it's the weirdest thing. Anyway, never
Such
mind.
a meta
It's such
joke.
A well, the thing is, back then, we didn't really refer to
Brilliant
things as
joke.
meta, but now, like we're so used to that kind of thing. It's like everyone would be like, "Oh my god, so meta, brilliant."
I think my favourite probably is the musical because I love doing it and we were just young people just getting to do different music videos and
What an extraordinary
hearing
achievement,
the lyrics, "Don't come near with me knob cheese." Well, never the Sheridan song was just
Brings a
wonderful.
tear to the
yeah.
eye.
It was
doesn't it?
just gets me a lump in the throat every time.
It does if it's strong enough.
And just getting to do that, it was amazing, wasn't it? In the
Yeah.
studios and
Yeah.
what Gareth Karivic turned round with on a limited budget,
Yes, indeed.
genius.
Well, we basically
Yeah.
recreated pretty convincingly something like 14 high-end musical videos.
Yeah. And
for-
also,
for a fraction of the
there's
price of it.
Meatloaf in it.
But that
What?
those
There's a Meatloaf song with.
There wasn't. We
yeah.
lost Meatloaf today. Today's the
Meatloaf-
day that Meatloaf
he died,
died.
yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Meatloaf.
What was you going to
His
say,
name was
Kath?
Robert Paulson.
those videos were nothing compared to our Club Tropicana live.
Oh my God.
Do you know what? I actually
was
don't want to talk
horrible.
about it because I don't want anyone to look it up. I've never watched.
it's the
I've never
worst
watched
thing.
it. I can't
Was
look
it
it up.
Children in Need or
Children
Comic
Need Club
Relief?
Tropicana. We
We had
always
to do
did
it
Chuffy. That's
live.
us, you remember? I think we've been asked if Children's in Need. It was the biggest car crash. The fucking mics weren't working. The sound was too low. We couldn't hear us. We were just looking at each other going, fuck no,
Were you
what's
guys
happening? It was
in
live.
skimpy underpants or something? I seem
Oh,
to think that
it
you
was
were
the
in some
cheesiest
sort of,
thing. I'm
like,
surprised any of us
Hawaiian
weren't.
trunk.
Even just bring you.
God, Reddy's gone. God, Red Ralph's gone. It's killing him.
My arsehole is trying to eat this chair. That's how it's fucking.
I was
awful.
sat at home and I was just like,
I bet you turned it
Oh,
off.
I
It was
did.
so bad.
I was lucky because I said, "Can you give me less moves
Yeah,
so
it
I
was
can just sit on the lounge?"
Just sit out of the way like that. Don't get me
It
in
was
shot.
the most half-arsed. It was so weird. So
It was on Dead Late as well,
we
didn't it?
rehearsed. Thank fuck they put.
Yeah,
it on.
yeah.
Jesus
Explain
Christ.
what
Everyone's pissed.
But we rehearsed it for about a week, and we were
serious.
We
You
were,
were
no,
terrible.
no, listen. But,
Not your
It wasn't
fault,
our
I'm
fault.
sure.
honestly, I swear it wasn't our fault. I mean, look, no one is going to go, oh, that Sheridan Smith can't sing. I mean,
No,
she's
of
made what a
course
career out
it's-
of it. Natalie's got this extraordinary
Yeah,
voice.
she has, yeah.
Catherine's a great singer. Will's
You're
not a
all
great singer, but he
really
does
good.
Mustang
You're a
Sally a lot.
cheeky twat.
Yeah, if he'd have done Mustang Sally, they'd be fine. No, and you know, and I can hold a tune,
It's
right?
all their fault.
We fucking did the rehearsals. We had this tight choreography. And then we were there on the day.
Sound.
We were there on the day and they went, please welcome 2 Pints. Duh, duh, the music starts. We're like, we're not even on shit. So we're out of time. We're like, oh.
The music was all over the place.
We didn't have feedback. What do they call
Couldn't
it?
hear any colour ourselves.
Monitor.
Yeah.
They didn't,
Yeah,
we
ear
didn't,
monitors.
we didn't have ear
Same
monitors,
thing.
so we
as
couldn't hear the
well.
music. We couldn't hear ourselves sing. And the audience was going, oh, Club Tropicana. Oh, God, this is awful.
When it
And we're
finished,
going,
we just...
"The Tropicana is free!" Like all dancing, doing different moves and everything. They, honestly, the
killed us.
technicians.
That
fucked
will be
us.
on YouTube.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it is. Well, I've never watched it, and I wish we hadn't talked about this because now every fucker's going to look
Yeah.
it up.
I would-
It was the worst thing.
What
you've
was,
ever seen.
was yours a musical, you think? Or I like the horror as well,
I
you know.
loved the musical, but I really loved the horror as well.
I love the horror.
I loved doing the horror more than I loved doing the
I
musical.
think it's the dark. I mean, it's so dark. People still say that frightened me when I was younger.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of people don't like it. at
Because
all.
there's no laughter on it. And I think when you took the laughter off, because at 2
You
Pints
can't
of Lager,
see, there was the audience was screaming.
it was,
So
yeah,
it
it was
really good. And all the
eerie.
prosthetics
So
and the
well done.
rubber heads.
How did
so
you
well
die
done.
again?
Sawed her own leg off, do you remember? Cut her own head
She
off.
sawed her
I
own
got my
head
head
off.
She
chopped
was sat there
off.
sawing a leg off chalk and then you
Yeah.
cut your own head off and your
Yeah.
head rolled
It's
around and you
dark.
went, "Ah," you were biting his ankle at some point.
That's it.
He got killed by Johnny Dodger.
Somebody
Natalie-
said, so that's it.
Donna killed me.
Somebody said to me, they went, oh, I wasn't that keen on the horror episode. I was like, why? And they go, well, you know when she sawed her own head off. It's like, it just sort of like crossed the boundary. Like it's not realistic. I was like, it's not realistic. I got hit by a fucking Johnny Dodger. As if that's not realistic. thing.
Do you remember
Like that's the there it crossed, jumped the shark.
barmaid got killed by
Literally
Crisps.
jumped the shark. Yeah.
Crisps killed the barmaid. Do you remember? They all stuck to her face.
That's right,
That was
yeah.
terrifying when she came out of the cellar.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Some amazing moments. Susan Nickson and Kathryn Drysdale.